This is the day that the Lord has made.
That the Lord has made.
I will rejoice and be glad in it, and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. Praise the Lord. This is the day which the Lord hath made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalm 118 and 24. Today's lesson title is Gideon Defeats the Midianites. We'll have three main focal points. The first one is God's plan of attack. And the second one is eyes and ears of the enemy. And the third one is torches and trumpets. The lesson text can be found in Judges chapter 7 verses 9 through 12. And the time is 1191 BC. And the place near the hill of Moreh. Next, I would like to share some vocabulary terms from the lesson with you. The first one is smote, which means to strike or hit hard. The second one is host, which is an army of a plethora of men or animals or things. But this particular term is in reference to the men in the army. The third one is overturn, which is to tip over or to turn upside down. The fourth is interpretation, which is the action of explaining the meaning of something. The fifth one is companies, which is a military unit that usually consists of 80 to 150 soldiers. The next one is withal, which is kind of Old English, but it just simply means together with. And the last one is sentries, which are usually guards that are on duty at the entrance of a military base. This lesson reminded me of an old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Most people use it with the motive to destroy their enemies. However, as Christians, and referring back to the lesson aim, God is always in control. He is everyone's judge and the only one that can deliver, even when using someone like Gideon to do a task. Remember, if there's a plan for your enemies, allow it to be God's plan, wisdom, or judgment in the situation. This lesson is filled with beautiful examples of Christianity. For example, Gideon's response to God's invitation. And when Gideon was fearful, he actually sought confirmation from God before moving forward. And he increased his faith, and he became a leader. I'm certain that you probably have discovered some other examples. So no matter what, if you're in a state of fear or facing discouragement or whatever your situation may be, tell God about it. He loves it when we come to him for help. And Gideon, within his own might, started a host of about 32,000 soldiers. However, in this story, it wasn't God's plan. God instructed Gideon to reduce his army to about 300 men to battle against the Midianites, which was a host of about 135,000 men. And this only made sense because God instructed him to do so. Remember, God's ways are not like ours. So it's important to trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he'll direct your path, just like he did with Gideon. So God told him at this point to take his servant with him and go ahead and descend down into the valley where the Midianites camped. And as he followed instructions from the Lord, that provided great confirmation of God's plan for him. And it gave him strength and courage to overhear those Midianites discussing their dream. And as he overheard them state especially that their belief was that God was going to provide supernatural or victory towards Gideon within this battle, and that he would be operating in Gideon's favor. So even though Gideon's army barely consisted of 2 companies, Gideon returned to his men with great confidence in God, and they followed him as he led. He used trumpets, a pitcher, and a lamp to attack the army. That was pretty unusual, but because God is all-knowing and all-seeing God, it made total sense. And he knew the instruments and the strategies of blowing the trumpets and concealing the lights with pitchers, and the usage of lamps to provide light for Gideon's men could be used to scare the Midianites right out of their boots. So this was a really beautiful lesson, just about having faith in God. This lesson basically showed and demonstrated that God is our strength when we are weak. And it definitely shows and demonstrates that we can do nothing of ourselves. We can do nothing without God. So, thank you. I hope that you all have enjoyed the lesson. This is just a reminder to continue to work on your ongoing homework assignments, completing or committing to memory, rather, the 23rd Psalm, the Lord's Prayer, the Old Testament books of the Bible. I've added an additional one, which is John 3:16, and of course our confession. I love each one of you. Be blessed.